Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back to another video. This time I'm going to be doing a Procreate tutorial, so this will be my first one of those. But if you guys end up liking this, definitely let me know. I would be more than happy to do more Procreate tutorials in the future. This time we're just going to do something pretty basic, which is all about creating stamp brushes. So I showed you guys that last month I released a ton of Halloween stamps, like 110 Halloween stamps. So I'm going to show you guys today how I make those and walk you through the process. So if you have any ideas of stamp sets you want to make on your own, or if you're ever just curious about how the process is and you want to make a set along with me, then stay tuned. As you guys can see here, I've created little stacks where the first photo is kind of like my desktop folder icon so that I can easily sort through everything. So I'm just going to go to my stamps and brushes folder. And then I'm just going to come up and hit this plus sign in the corner here. And then there's another plus up here. And the most important thing here is that it's a square. So for a long time I was doing 1500 by 1500. Sometimes I do like 2048 by 2048. You can kind of play around with that and see what your preference is. But for me and today's purposes, we're just gonna do 1500 by 1500 pixels. And then if you want, you can always like title this as like stamp brushes. And this way it should be there whenever you want to make stamp brushes in the future. So the first thing that I like to do is come up here and tap the wrench icon, tap canvas, and then I like to put on my drawing guide. And I'm going to go with symmetry. I think some of the items that we're creating today might look good with symmetry. Drawing guide and might help make things a little bit easier. So I'm going to just tap edit drawing guide, tap symmetry, and then just check to make sure that assisted drawing is on here and that we're on vertical. Tap done. And this always happens. This is something I wish Procreate would fix. I know people complain about it all the time. The done button is too close to this bar, so then you end up tapping it and it turns your line almost white, and then that's not productive at all. So I'm just going to drag it back to another end where I can actually see the color and then hit done. I have my center line of symmetry here. So basically what that does is anytime that I draw something on this side, it's going to show up on that side. For example, now I have this perfectly symmetrical heart. And I want to use a monoline brush. The one that's in Procreate will work perfectly fine, so you can tap on the brush library and scroll down. I have a ton of imported brushes. Scroll down to calligraphy, and then you can just tap on the monoline brush, and now we have a monoline brush. All right, so let's just get started now that we have our canvas set up. I'm going to choose a color, and I'm just going to choose black. Now that we have our color and our brush and our canvas set up, I am going to start drawing. So when I think of a symmetrical Halloween design, I immediately think of spiders. So you can just come in and kind of draw the shape of the body. So I kind of want it to have a little bit of a pointed butt. We'll throw a head on up here. And then I'm actually going to move this down just a little bit to give me plenty of space to draw the legs. And the legs have 3 segments, so I'm just going to come out, down, and then over. And you can hold it if you want to kind of perfect that shape a little bit. But basically I'm just going to follow that. Then I also have these guys that come out. And then you can just drag and drop to fill the space. And now we've got a creepy little spider. So then one of the most important things to do is grab the little pointer here, the selection tool. And then we're going to tap snapping down here and make sure that magnetics and snapping are on. And then you're just going to drag this until you get it perfectly centered. So you can see the orange lines going down the center, both this way and this way. And that just tells us that this is perfectly centered. So the reason you want to make sure that it's centered is because when we create the stamp, it's going to pull this whole square, not crop it into the edges. And so because of that, it has to be centered. Otherwise, when you go to draw, let's say you're using a stamp brush and it's not centered, when I tap here, it goes where I tap it, where the tip of my pencil is the center of that. But if we moved the image like up and it wasn't centered, then if I tap down here, the image is going to show up here. And we don't want that. That's way too hard to control. So it is very important that you keep it centered. You can feel free to get crazy with your design, do whatever you'd like, make the legs look creepier or anything. But I'm just going to keep this like this for simplicity. And I'm going to go in and add a new layer. So just gonna hit the plus bar here. I'm gonna toggle this one off, tap on this, turn on drawing assist, and then I'm gonna create another doodle. Let's go ahead and draw a cute little pumpkin. So we have our drawing assist on, so now we're just gonna draw this sort of elongated half oval shape so that it makes a full one. And then we're gonna come to the side here and kind of do the same. And then we can come up here and just make it come back a little bit. I'm going to come in here and draw the stem and then put a little top on it. And I'm just going to kind of fill in this back space here with more similar arches. And there, I think that looks pretty good. And now I just want to go in and kind of touch up any edges that I feel like maybe weren't super perfect. So I am going to grab my eraser tool. I'm going to bring the size down a little bit and I'm just going to zoom in. And I'm happy enough with that, so I'm going to grab the little selection tool, and if you want, you can resize it a little. I wouldn't do too much though, just because sizing things up definitely can cause them to lose some of the definition and get a little bit pixelated, so I try not to do that. So I'm going to tap off of that and just move on to our next one. So I'm going to tap up here with the layers, add a new layer, tap on that layer, and tap drawing assist. Now I think I'm going to draw a candle. So I'm just going to draw a line like this, and I'm going to hold it so it becomes a straight line, and then I'm going to tap down with my other finger so that these lines are perfectly parallel. So now I can come in and I can draw the bottom, bring them to meet, hold so that it perfects the shape, and then I'm going to come up to the top here and do the same. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a layer on top that I'm going to do some drawing on. So I'm just going to come up here to our layers panel, hit the plus sign, and then this one we don't want to have drawing assist on, so I'm not going to turn that on. And we're going to do the parts that aren't symmetrical. So like the wax, it would look kind of funny if it was dripping symmetrically, so we don't really want to do that. So I'm just going to draw like that. And I want it to come off the edge a little bit to make it look a little more 3D. Then I'm just going to come up here, kind of connect that. And then I'm going to come back to my other layer down here. I'm going to toggle off the drawing assist. I'm going to grab my eraser, and I'm just going to erase this bit that I don't need. Alright, now I'm going to come back up to this layer, and I'm just going to draw a straight line and do like I did before where I hold and then use my other finger to make sure it's perfectly straight. And then I'm going to draw a little flame, which I also don't want it to be symmetrical. So that's why it's on this layer. And I am going to go in and make this look better. So I think I'm going to go down to this layer and actually erase that because I'm not super fond of it. it got a little bit wobbly for some reason. So I'm just gonna erase it. And I see here that this maybe needs a little bit of erasing too, so I gotta make sure I'm on the right layer. And then I'm just gonna redraw that. I have this new pencil tip, and I'm not sure if I like it. I literally just got it today. I thought it would be fun, but I don't know if it's the pencil tip, that it's more sensitive or something, but I'm having a lot of struggles right now, so I don't know. Anyway, okay, so I just want to come in here and draw a nice curve, and I actually think I'm just going to do it like that. I'm not going to connect it fully, just to give the appearance of that edge. And yeah, okay, that works for me. I like that. Gonna take these two layers now, and I'm going to just merge them together. So I'm going to take my two fingers and I'm just going to squish them, and now they're one layer. I'm going to shut that off. So let's do one more. I want to do a coffin. That's something I actually didn't do on my other one. So I also didn't do the candle. So I kind of want to use these myself. So I do want to make sure I have symmetry on for this. We're going to tap on that new layer we just created. Tap Drawing Assist, and then let's get into it. So I'm a lefty, and I don't know if anybody else is left-handed. If you are, definitely let me know in the comments. I would love to find out if any of you guys are lefties. But I find it so much easier to write with my canvas or my paper turned, and that's not really all that great for creating YouTube videos. So I'll just turn this part. I hope you guys don't mind too much. So first I'm just going to draw a straight line like this. I'm going to hold, and then I'm going to tap so that it's perfectly parallel. And I'm going to even go past the symmetry line just a little to make sure that there's no accidental gap here in the center. So that looks good. Now I'm going to draw an angle out like this. And I want this to be a little bit better. So I'm going to edit the shape here. And I'm gonna just make those corners meet, and I want this a little shorter and maybe out a little more. And then I'm just gonna tap the pen tool, and yeah, that looks pretty good. I am gonna have to move this up though, I can already tell, so I'm just gonna slide that up. And now I'm on my pen tool. I'm going to start and draw a line like this. Hold it so that it's perfectly straight. I'm going to edit it, and I just want to make sure these corners meet nicely. Now you can only do that if you've held it to create like a perfectly straight line, otherwise it won't let you. We're going to draw a straight line, tap and hold, tap with your finger so it's perfectly straight. What I want to do now, I'm going to make this 3D. So I'm going to actually duplicate this, and I'm going to turn off the Drawing Assist for now. And while we're on the layer that was duplicated, that we shut the Drawing Assist off, I'm going to press the selection tool, and I'm going to tap snapping and magnetics, and I'm just going to shut it off. It gives me a little more freedom here to move this how I want to. And now that I have these kind of where I want them, I'm going to create another new layer, and I'm going to draw some lines connecting these. So I'm going to connect, just hold, we'll get a nice perfect line. You can edit it if you need to. And I'm just going to go around connecting these corners. And then these ones are actually underneath, so I know I don't need to connect those ones. But I am going to come back to that layer, and that's when I'm going to start erasing. And now as I get closer into these edges, I don't want to do any harm to what I currently have, so I'm just going to make my eraser smaller and then just zoom in. And we're just going to erase away carefully. That looks good. I'll do the same down here. All right, and it looks pretty good. So I can smush all these layers together like we did before. And it's great that Drawing Assist is still on, because now I can come in here and draw a little cross. So now I'm just gonna draw and hold, tap with my other finger, make sure it's perfectly straight. And I'm gonna do the same going this way. Tap to make sure it's straight. Do the same, tap, hold, make sure it's straight. And I'm just gonna draw these lines to fill it in. You can color, or you can drag and drop. Totally up to you. But there we go. Now we have a coffin. And I actually think I want that part to be a little smaller, so I'm gonna take this little selection snake looking ribbon tool and I have it on freehand, so I'm just gonna come in here and select that section, grab the little pointer, make it smaller, and then I'm gonna turn snapping back on and just gonna snap it center. And I'm happy enough with that. So now comes the fun part. Now we get to actually create the stamp. So let's tap our brush to come to our brush library. We're gonna scroll all the way to the top and you'll see a blue plus sign. Tap on that and then we can scribble in our free Halloween stamps. So now we can tap the plus sign to create a new brush. We're gonna take our spacing all the way up to max. This way you can see we're already creating circle stamps. And now we're going to go to Properties, and you can adjust this. You can write Use Stamp Preview, and then you can adjust the size of the preview. So that's something I usually do at the end once I see how big like the design looks in the brush set. And then I usually put the maximum size up quite a bit, and then the minimum size just somewhere on the lower end. And then another important thing to do is to come into Apple Pencil here, and you want to turn this opacity all the way down. So I'll show you, you can see what that does. If I'm tapping with different pressure, then it's going to be either very opaque or it's going to be more translucent. So if we just take that pressure sensor all the way down, then it doesn't matter how hard you press, it's always going to be the same. So we'll get a perfect stamp. And you can come into the About This brush and you can write Made by your name. You can add a photo, you can add a little signature. Now we're gonna rename this here as well. So I'm just gonna put Stamp Template. And this will just make your life a lot easier. So I'm gonna hit Done here. It's very important that you hit Done after each step before you hit this Done, or it'll like go back. So basically you can see here that the stamp preview is way too big. So then I can tap on the brush again, go to Properties, and I can change the size of that preview and just pull the preview down and hit Done, and you can see it's much smaller now. So you can play around with that. But the reason I want to do it this way is because then I can just duplicate this as many times as I want to. So we made 1, 2, 3, 4 different designs. So that's what we're going to use. Oh, and I want to make sure, before I do anything, I realized I didn't make sure this one was centered. So I'm just going to tap on this one, make sure that I have magnetics and snapping on. And then I'm just going to move this over until I get both of the orange crosshairs there. And now one way we can do this is we can take 3 fingers and pull down and hit Copy All. And then we can come in here and go to this brush, for example, tap on the top one, go to Shape, Edit, Import, and Paste. Now, you'll notice that the image before this was all black with a white circle. Your stamp, when you're doing this, has to be white and the background has to be black. So what you can do here is just tap with 2 fingers and it will invert the image for you, so you're in good shape. But it is very important that you are working with a pure black when you were doing this. If you're working with like a dark black or an almost gray, it will have a level of transparency to it. And we don't really want to do that. So it is important that when you're doing your designs, it's all in all black. So now you can see we have perfect stamps here. So now what we want to do is just go and rename this. So same way we did before when we titled it Stamp Template, we can just scribble this here and write Coffin Stamp. Hit done, and then hit done again. So you can toggle off that layer, toggle on this layer. You can tap on layer 3. I do want to make sure this is centered, so I'm going to tap on the mouse tool. Snapping and magnetics are both on, so we're good. And now I'm just going to pull this down until I get all those orange lines crossing. Perfect. Now it's perfectly centered. I'm going to swipe down with 3 fingers, hit copy all, come to my library, tap shape, edit, import, paste, tap with 2 fingers, hit done, come down to about this brush, scribble this out, call it candle stamp, hit done. So now we can come to our layers and we can toggle that 3rd layer off, toggle our pumpkin layer on, swipe down with 3 fingers, copy all, come to our brush library, tap on our 3rd one, shape, edit, import, paste, tap with 2 fingers, hit done, about this brush, scribble, pumpkin stamp, hit done, done. Come into our spider layer, swipe down with 3 fingers, hit copy all, come to our brush library, tap, shape, edit, import, paste, tap with 2 fingers, hit done, about this brush, spider stamp, hit done, done, and that's it. So now we can start a new layer and you can test out your little stamp sets. We have this one, a pumpkin, and our spider. And that's it, as simple as that. If you liked this video, please be sure to give it a like and let me know that you enjoyed this tutorial. And as a thank you for watching my video, I am giving away this stamp set to anybody who watched, so you can find a link to that below. But of course, you know how to do this yourself now too. So, all right, thanks so much for watching and I will see you in my next video. Bye!